Awesome. So look, as it says on screen, today is entirely about you. You're going to leave today with ideas on growth, on scale, strategy, and most importantly, how you can build a very, very powerful business which can start to work without you. So I'm going to pass the presentation over to Shaz. He's going to just tell his story in a bit more detail so you can understand how he's implemented everything he's learned into his business and his life.
Thank you very much, Cooks. Before we get started, I know there's lots of webinars out there. You turn up and it's a little bit of a pitch fest for something to buy or sell something. And before we put this webinar together, me, Cooks and Jas spent a lot of time working out what type of webinar could we deliver where it is actually giving you heaps and heaps of knowledge. So you're not required to take any further action unless you wish to do so. So today, even though we're mentioning a business and we're mentioning a coach, you don't need to do anything unless you wish to. There's so much information here, which we have all paid to access, we've learned, and we've kind of combined these golden nuggets to deliver this information to you, because ultimately we feel we're kind of all on the same path of life. To succeed in business, a lot of the time you just have to turn up. But to succeed in life and business as a balance and get the time to do the things that you really want to do, which I've been able to do, that's a whole different thing. You need to get guidance from a mentor or someone who's been there, done that. So I started my company, Digimax Dental, which is a dental marketing agency, when I was 18 years old. And my understanding of business at the time was put in every hour you can and you'll be successful. Work hard, outwork everyone else. And in a way, it wasn't a lie. You can become successful by putting in a lot of hours, but you got to define what success is. Because 3-4 years into, like, I went to uni and then I started my business and I was working from a garage. 3-4 years into working every hour, I didn't feel successful. I felt depleted, felt depressed. I felt like I lost the love for what I once enjoyed doing very, very much, because there was no balance. But then how do you get the balance? If you are working half days, then what's happening to your business? So you're kind of caught in this small business syndrome. And you look outwards at these big successful organizations, like, I don't know, you could look at Richard Branson and Apple and, you know, Mark Zuckerberg and all these people who've built organizations where the businesses are built on their philosophies, but the businesses run without them. They can go away and their product is still being improved and their clients are extremely happy. And that's the secret formula I was trying to search. And it didn't seem like there's a simple answer out there until I found a coaching program which had a syllabus, which taught various things, which we're going to deliver to you today. So I'm just going to share with you what coaching's been able to do for me. Okay, it's been able to allow me to scale my business to completely new heights. So before I started, there was 18 people in Digimax. Now there's 30. Our market share has gone up. But the best thing of all, I've been able to use my time to start a charity. So in 2019, I started this charity, Wells on Wheels, which I would not have been able to do and change so many lives had I not had the time to be able to pursue these things. If I was working day and night on inside the business, not on the business, I would not be able to change the lives for all these young girls in rural India. Now, philanthropy might be something that some of you want to do, and I appreciate it might not be a dream for some of you, but for me, it was the missing link to feeling complete. I also wanted to write a book, okay? By using the coaching mechanisms to hire the right people, implement systems, grow the business in a way where it's sustainable and have so many predictable outcomes so that our clients are consistently happy. We're creating raving fans. Having a really well-oiled machine allowed me to step away for a little while to write this book, which became a bestseller and helped my business in turn as well as my charity. I wanted to start workshops and I was able to achieve that dream. But most importantly, 4 years ago, I had Helena, which is my baby girl. And that's really when the penny dropped. It's fine. Sometimes you don't mind working all the hours, but when this little human being enters your life, you know, for the first time, parents who became parents for the first time who are watching this will understand, you know, everything, the dynamic completely changes and you get a little bit more philosophical. So I really wanted a business where I'm not, you know, taking days off and it's affecting our clients, etc., where the balance is good enough, where everything is growing. So relationships are growing, you're feeling fulfilled, and these precious moments are not being missed. So how did I interpret the learnings of coaching? So the amazing thing about coaching is you turn up to these coaching sessions, whether it's a group session, so mine was a group session, Cooks does one-on-one sessions, and concepts are delivered, and then it's up to you to interpret those concepts. So for example, we've implemented Digimax University. We've got a university training program that we've built internally where team members get certified in various skills. Okay, they go on to get scored on various aspects of being the best individuals they can be in the organization, so they're feeling fulfilled. We recognize our staff, so we've got quarterly awards that we run, and these awards, it's not a token where everyone gets an award. Only the most deserving get awards, and we've got a mix. We've got younger and older team, but they compete for this award. And for the first time ever, one team member got the award twice in a row. And the goal was to give this award to someone who's actually done more than they're expected to do. So in this picture, this is the first award we ever gave out. Once I was checking the CCTV for the office, because as a business owner, sometimes you think, oh my God, is the building still there? Has it burned down? So randomly, I just checked the CCTV and I saw Sam sweeping up downstairs. Now we've got a cleaner. I don't know why he was sweeping up. And then I asked him once, I was checking the CCTV. I saw you sweeping. Was everything okay? And he just said, yeah, I just needed a bit of a tidy up. I didn't mind doing it. I said, did anyone ask you? He said, no. Like this, he kept doing things that he wasn't asked, and we recognize it. So recognition in the business has helped our team build its culture and people to perform better. Systems, okay? There's so many email exchanges in the business, but some of them are so repetitive. So what we've done is when we're fully hydrated, fully rested, made emails for the team that they can make their own, but almost every scenario is covered. So there's consistency. As your team grows, as you scale, you don't want the very best people. You want good people who can follow systems, because then you don't get stuck when that one team member leaves. So we've built these systems, and we didn't have this before we started coaching. So these are very simple concepts that you can implement. Creating raving fans, understanding that each patient of yours, or in our case, each client of ours, is an opportunity to create a fan for your business. If you exceed their expectations, and it's so easy in the United Kingdom to exceed expectations because customer service is generally so poor, and there's very little you need to really do above and beyond to turn someone from just an indifferent client or patient to a raving fan. So we've been able to grow. I mean, we've got 436 reviews since the screenshot. We became the world's highest rated dental marketing agency, and we understood moments of truth. So in the paid practice environment, I know Jas does this extremely well. The minute the smile reveal happens, that's a moment of truth. Okay, for us, when a website is launched, so we celebrate moments of truth. We make our clients feel good. Again, another thing that we added once we understood how powerful this is, and it only came from coaching. Without coaching, you would be guessing these things. So it's good to know what 1,000 other businesses are doing and then interpret it into your own language. And of course, you want to attract the right talent. You want people to want to work for you. So since we've developed that side of the business, we get talent inquiring all the time that, can we work with you? And the best talent that we've recruited, they've said, we really wanted to work with you. We saw your profile. We saw this, we saw that. We saw you won that award. People that work in your organizations, when they're in their social circles, they want to brag about the achievements of their company. And I'll end on this last note. I remember I was at a wedding and I met a mutual friend, and he was talking about how his company has done a merger and it's grown and this has happened, that's happened. And I thought, Jesus, this guy's some real big shot, because he's talking like millions and millions of pounds. And then when he left, I said to my friend, what does he do? And he was like, he works in PC World. And I was like, what? But that told me the culture is so strong. He felt part of the PC World's entire organizational structure because he was made part of the story. So attracting talent, the big thing that most businesses struggle with, especially practices right now, you can spend time on that and develop that side. And Jas is going to speak more about that. I'm just going to hand it over to you, Jas.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So you're making me the host. So what I'm going to do now is I'm the host and I'm going to share my screen. So am I the host now, Shaz?
It says you are. Have you
Good,
got the...
good. Yep, I've got it. I've got it now. Just came through. So I'm hoping you can all see my screen now. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, great. So I'm talking a little bit about my story. I just want to talk, carry on from what Shaz was saying there about working for a big company. And the president of the United States said at the time when he wanted to put a man on the moon, he had this vision that he wanted to put a man on the moon. And it was that vision went through all of America, that it was a race to who's going to be the first person to put a man on the moon. And it was the space race at the time. But all the journalists came to the factory, not the factory, the space station where this was all happening and the rocket was going to be built. And they spoke to the cleaner over there. And the cleaner said, I'm part of the journey to put a man on the moon. So it was the whole vision of the whole country. And that's what teamwork is all about. It's not about you being and trying to control everything and micromanaging and doing everything. It's actually part of the team and empowering them and getting them to do everything. Because if they're able to do everything, then you can step back and empower them. And that means you'll have less to do and you can focus on other things like all the points that Shaz was mentioning. So I'm just going to carry on from that. And these are the kind of things that you learn from coaching. And you can take them back into your practices, whether you've got your own company like Shaz has got Digimax Dental, or whether you're a principal of a practice, or whether you're an associate and you're working and you've got your own team, or even if you're, like I said, you're an associate and you've got your nurse there, how can you implement systems just as an associate with your nurse and systems that will make things work better for you and easier? You'll realize that you'll start delegating more. Each time I'm teaching a course, I always ask everyone who's got a scanner. And nowadays, lots of dentists are saying, and they put their hands up, I'd say 75 to 80% of dentists are saying we've all got scanners. Then I ask the question, how many of you guys get your nurses to scan? No one puts their hand up, but nurses can scan. Now, the dentists often think, oh, they won't be able to do it very well. They're not going to be able to do it as good as me. I've been getting my nurse to scan for over 2 years now. And she beat her record last time. The latest iTero scanner, it's got a timer on there on how quickly you scan. She can do a scan now in under 3 minutes. And I was blown away at that. And the scan is absolutely fantastic. There's no way I could do that. So I've trained my team to do things better than I can, so that I can step back. So there's less for me to do. In exactly the same way, my nurse takes photographs now. So photographs are taken by my nurse. So I'm letting my team do more. The other benefit of this is that the more you let your team do more, the more valued they feel. They want to stay there more. They'll talk to other people, their colleagues, their friends, their friends who are dental nurses. Oh, I do the scanning in my practices. I do the photographs there. And that nurse will think, hold on, when the scans are being done, my dentist is doing them, I'm just sitting there doing nothing. So other people will want to come and work for you. And I have seen this happen time and time again, where we're getting more and more inquiries of team members wanting to come and work for us. So nurses, receptionists, dental cleaners, they want to come and work for us because they've been told by by our team members what it's like to work for us. And that's what there's some similar sort of thing that Shaz was saying. And I found that working for myself as well in the clinical environment. And time and time again, there's numerous examples I can give of this. But just want to give a little bit of background on who I am and me. So just a little bit of background about me. Became a dentist in '95, worked as an associate in 2006. And in those 11 years, I was just working in a massive NHS practice, just trading time for money. That's all I was doing. So working sometimes 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I knew that if I stopped working, I wouldn't get an income. And that's the concept that I wanted to change, where I didn't want to trade time for money anymore. And the picture you see over there is my current practice in Slough. So it's not a fancy practice or anything. We've got a pharmacy next door. If you put all the towns in order of affluency in order in the UK, Slough would probably come right at the bottom. I hope no one is listening if they're from Slough. But on top of that, we have a pharmacy next door. So we have all the methadone patients standing outside. But that doesn't concern me. That doesn't stop any staff member wanting to come in and work for us. We get inquiries of people wanting to come and work for us because of the culture, because of the vision that we've created. And this all comes from business coaching. Going back to the number of hours I was working, I've realized that I need to get the team to do more, get my associates to do more, so I can do less and focus on things like systems, on things like the culture, and things like marketing and things like sales and all those things that I didn't have time to focus on. And we always realize we never have time to focus on, because sometimes we come from work at 5 o'clock and then we're working at home on these things. Every time I'm teaching, I ask people to put their hands up. Who carries on working at home in the evenings when it's supposed to be family time? Everyone puts their hand up. You shouldn't be doing that. There should be an end time. You should be finishing your dentistry and create that work-life balance. And then what you choose to do with that time is completely up to you, whether you want to spend it with family, whether you want to do further education or further reading or further courses. But you've given yourself that choice. And that's the key thing that you're able to do with business coaching. So just following on, I got my own practice, which is the one you see in 2006. And again, I used to work there 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. My son was quite young then. He was only 5 years old. And every time I really saw him on Sunday. And I remember one point he said to my wife, Mom, who's that guy that comes here every Sunday? So he didn't see me that much. And it was like, that's when I realized I needed to make a change. I needed to do something differently so that I can spend more time at home. Because no one ever said on their deathbed, I wish I spent another day at the office. And I'm sure you guys are thinking that the same thing, that you don't want to spend so many hours in the surgery, but it can be done in such a way where your income, in fact, it doesn't decrease, it actually increases, because you're making a more efficient machine as your business, where at the moment it might not be as efficient, but you can get rid of those inefficiencies because you'll have time to deal with them. So what I did then, I practiced 2 more practices and I sold them for a profit because I made them more efficient. I made the profits increase and then I sold them. And there's no reason why you can't do this as well. So you can be buying and selling practices and selling them for a profit by just making them more efficient. Or if you want to keep them and keep them running for a regular income, so that you'll give yourself a choice. And that's the main thing. Because at the moment, if you're trading time for money, you're not really giving yourself a choice, because as soon as you stop working, there's going to be no income, and that income's going to suddenly stop overnight. I also started doing much more of what my real passion is. I love dentistry, but my real passion is speaking and doing seminars and public speaking. That's where I really come into my own. During lockdown, I did lots of webinars. As soon as we could I started doing more seminars. I speak for 6 Month Smile, Invisalign, Carestream, Dental Monitoring, Ashley Ladder, Smile Fast. Got my own course now, thanks to London Business Coaching. I realized there was a gap in the market because people wanted to do more Invisalign. So I've got my own course now on how people can do more Invisalign. And that's where my real passion was. There is no way on this planet I would have had time to do all of the things that I wanted to do if I was still drilling and filling in the surgery. That would never have happened. I was given more time because I let other people take control. I learned to let go, which is one of the hardest things to do, by the way, learning to let go and let your team control things, let the associates control things. 9 times out of 10, they can do things better than you can. And the problems with us dentists is we're perfectionists. We want to get the job done 100%. And sometimes getting the job done is better than getting it done perfectly. And that way you're able to do more things. And that's what I found out. Also, my practice now, because I've stepped back and I've realized that I usually get in the way. It's evolved now from a single treatment room to 3 full-time treatment rooms and a team of 10 staff. And I've stopped now doing NHS dentistry. I'm only doing the treatment that I enjoy, which is Invisalign and Smile Fast, which is composite bonding. So I've realized that's the treatment that I enjoy. So that's all I'm going to do, because that's what I want to do. That's the dentistry that I want to do. And I don't do anything else. I used to hate endo. Sorry if there's any endodontists listening out there, but I don't do that anymore because I gave myself that choice. I can do that. And that's why I always say to dentists, this may not happen overnight, but give yourself a goal. Write it down that these are the treatments that I want to do. Write it down when you want to do it by, and then you'll make a plan and how you're going to get to that goal, and you'll be able to start actioning it. And if you don't have that written plan, that written goal, you're walking down the journey of life blind. You really are, because you don't know where you're going. It's like going in a car and a sat nav and not putting the destination in on the sat nav. You're driving, but you're not sure where you're going. And then now, because this is sort of similar to Shaz, award-winning, keen interest in orthodontics. One of my real goals was to become a diamond Invisalign provider, which I did this year. So I've managed to achieve my goals because I set goals, I set deadlines, I set a plan in place, and I knew how I was going to action it. And the whole team was on board because the team had the right attitude. And I'm going to be talking about recruitment a little bit later on and how to hire people and making sure that they've got the right attitude. But that's enough about me at the moment. I'm going to pass it back on to Cooks and go to Cook's story. So I'm going to stop my screen share. There we go. And Cooks, I'm going to make you the host now.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you everyone for being here today. I wanted to say, and I'm not a dentist at all, and that's why we've got Shaz here and Dr. Jas Gill, because they're going to bring the dental angle. My story is very, very different. Ultimately, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've got 3 businesses, which I'll share a little bit more about in a minute, but I am now a full-time business coach, purely because I wanted to help people and change people's lives the way that my life got changed. I also own a bonsai tree called Mr. Miyagi. If anyone's interested, I'll share pictures of it later on. But a little bit more about my story. So the image on the left is a business that I started after a short career in the city as a stockbroker with a friend of mine. We built 152 apartments in Baroda in Gujarat, which is West India. Shaz was a part of this in terms of he helped with the designing of the website and the graphics, but it was 152 apartments. It was worth like 5.2 million pounds, and we raised money from investors. I was responsible for the branding, the sales, the marketing to get this project off the ground. And I sold out of that business and then started my family business, which is what you see on the right-hand side, called Mr. Singh's. My dad basically loved chili. He's from Kenya. Made up his own chili sauce because he couldn't find anything that he liked in the supermarkets. And yeah, we basically started picking chilies by hand in our garden shed, washing them in the bathtub, and the business just started to grow. People absolutely loved the sauce. It was really, really exciting. We ended up supplying the likes of Tesco, Sainsbury's, Ocado, Selfridges, Harvey Nichols. We were selling online. We were selling in 500 independent retailers, exporting to South Africa, Sweden, out in Paris, New York, to the Far East. It was just the most incredible experience from a garden shed. And in fact, we even attracted investors. So we attracted angel investors as well as crowdfunding investors, and it was incredible. We were scaling like crazy. There was TV, there was press. We were on BBC One, and that was my start as a kind of solo entrepreneur. Oh, sorry, skipped past. So it was very, very rapid growth, very, very exciting. Going from a garden shed to being watched by millions on TV. You know, we've got 140,000 followers on social media. But very quickly I realized I hated it. And I want to emphasize that and just let that sink in. It was this highly exciting, exhilarating business that I'd started, but I absolutely hated it. There's a picture of me on the left-hand side in my office in East London, my old office in East London, 10:17 in London on a Saturday night, it says. And this was normal. This is what I thought was normal. Working evenings and weekends, 100 hours a week. You know, similar to what Shaz was saying and Jas was saying, I thought it was normal, but it wasn't. My health was being affected. I was stressed. I hadn't been on holiday. I had no social life. And this is one thing I'm hopeful you will be able to relate to, in that I also realized that if I did not work, I did not get paid. So for me, taking any time off was a non-starter. I wanted to get paid, and so I had to work, and that's all I thought I could do. And then the other aspect that I realized that my boss was an absolute lunatic, i.e. me. I wouldn't take any rest. I wouldn't stop. I wouldn't go out and seek help. And it was at that point that I realized I didn't want that life anymore, and I had to do something different. And in fact, my work used to come home with me. Literally, the picture in the middle is my old house where we kept our chili sauces and our cooking paste in the living room, stacked all the way to the ceilings at some point. And actually, I bumped into Shaz, and we stayed in contact all the time. He's a really close friend of mine. And I used to just say that Shaz was super successful, but I would see him become even more successful. And it seemed like he was working less hours. And I couldn't wrap my head around it. And when I spoke with him, and I said, look, Shaz, what have you been doing? And he said that he'd been getting coaching. Now, in my mind, I had a bit of an ego, and I was like, well, you're successful. Why do you need coaching? Why do you need a mentor? It didn't make sense in my mind. But at that time, I also realized I didn't want that old life anymore. And I knew I had to do something different. And so Shaz just said, look, try it out, see what you think, and take it from there. It doesn't cost you anything. And so I did. I went along to, similar to like Jas was saying, like the open day, basically. And within the first hour, I realized why my life was the way that it was. I realized why I was so stressed, and why my cash flow issues were there, why my marketing issues were there, my staff issues. And my staff was my family, by the way. So I didn't have a big team to start with, and it was me. And all I knew was that I had to implement what I was learning in that first session straight away. And so on the way home, I booked my first 7-day holiday in 7 years. And that's the picture that you see on the right-hand side, going to Greece. And that was when my life actually changed, because it all started in my mind. And that leads me on to this particular slide here. You know, what's the magic pill? What is the magic pill that's going to cause all of this change, or drive this change in us three and yourselves? And so before I carry on, I just want to ask the audience, ask everyone here, in the chat box, can you just let me know if you know who Roger Bannister is? Just a simple yes. I'm just going to have a look at the chat. Bear with me 1 second. A yes or no if you know who Roger Bannister is. Yes, no. Anyone else? Any yeses or nos? No, 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 no. No, no, no. Okay, no problems at all. So the Roger Bannister story is a really, really interesting story, and Google it when you get a chance. The Roger Bannister story is about a paradigm shift in your thinking. What you thought was possible, what you thought was impossible is now possible. So in 1954, Roger Bannister became the first athlete to run a mile in under 4 minutes. Now, up until that point, 1954, in recorded human history, no one had been able to run a mile in less than 4 minutes. But in 1954, Roger Bannister, with some level of training, managed to achieve it. Now, that's incredible in its own right. But what's even more incredible is that his record lasted for only 46 days, and then someone else did it. And since then, thousands and thousands and thousands of people have managed to run a mile in less than 4 minutes. Now, just take a moment and think about that. How could that possibly be? How can it be that up until 1954, no one had been able to run a mile in less than 4 minutes? And then after 1954, that afternoon when Roger Bannister did it, thousands of people had been able to do it. And the simple answer is that the belief had changed in people. All of a sudden, they saw it was possible, and then others decided to do the same thing themselves. And so this is what we share in the coaching program. And I want to share this with you today. So please do take notes on this and ask questions on this, because this is fundamental to getting rich quick and everything else that was being asked in the chat box before we started the presentation. We call this concept the identity iceberg. Now, as you know, with an iceberg, the tip of the iceberg is a small part of what you see above the water. The rest is a huge amount that's below the water. So like yourself, what drives change? The top 20% is your behaviors, the decisions that you make, the actions that you take. They dictate 20% of the changes in your life. But the real change, if you want to see fundamental change in your life, sometimes even overnight, it comes by going a lot deeper into yourself. So 75%, a huge chunk of the change that will occur in yourself and occurred with us as well, is what goes below the line. So your skills, your belief systems, your values, and your identity. So for example, your I am statements. If you walk around and you say, I am a dentist, I am a dentist, I am a dentist, then you will remain a dentist. However, if you change that to I am a business owner or I am an entrepreneur, that changes your mindset and your identity immediately. And you start to think and act differently. And we coach extensively on this over the course of the program. And this was one of the first things that I changed in myself when I did that open day program. But there's 5%, that magic pill that I showed you earlier, there's 5% that will literally change your entire being overnight. And it's your environment. So your environment is who you're surrounded with, your friends, your family, the feed on your Instagram, the knowledge that you're acquiring. So for example, being here tonight, taking the time out of your busy schedule to surround yourself with other people who want to have change, accessing the knowledge that Jas and Shaz have in the dental industry, you've literally changed your environment. And by doing that on a more consistent and regular basis, it creates long-lasting positive changes in your life. And this is key and fundamental to, if you're to make these changes moving forward in your practices, to achieve the goals and the lifestyle that you want. And because this particular concept, it's a very big and profound concept. And like I said, we coach on it extensively over time. I just want to spend a couple of minutes here answering people's questions and thoughts on this. And whilst people think about questions and thoughts, Jas, Shaz, do you guys maybe want to share your experiences and maybe even some thoughts that you have on this particular concept?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go. And I think
go ahead, Jas.
A lot of people can relate to over here. And we talk about coaching and the thing, like you said, why do you need coaching? And you can probably relate it to going to the gym and a personal trainer in the gym. So a lot of people do have personal trainers in the gym, but then a lot of people do go to the gym without a personal trainer. And it's been shown consistently that if you have a training coach, it's going to be more, you're going to be more successful. That person's going to push you, that person's going to take things further. And I'm a classic example of this. I didn't have a training coach up till about 18 months ago. And then I did have a training coach, a personal training coach. And my belief was I wanted to lose weight. And I knew I could do it, but I needed someone there to like constantly saying to me, have you done this? Have you done that? And constantly be there for me. And because of that, I managed to lose 18 kilos in 18 months, so 1 kilo a month. And I knew I wouldn't have done it if I didn't have a personal training coach. In the same way, when you have a business coach, your business will start becoming more efficient because you'll have them there for support. You'll have them there, and your business will become leaner and meaner. And that's what you want it to become. And then that will enable you to have more time to do with whatever you want to do. So that's a little example or analogy that I use there.
Fantastic, Jas. And I just want to add to that. I completely agree with you, Jas, by the way. So I feel like I've wasted 10 years of my life doing things slowly. Coaching just kind of puts it on fast forward, gets you to think in the right way. And the one I love the most in this diagram by Cooks is beliefs. I think we're held back by beliefs that we don't even know are incorrect or moving us far away from where we need to get to. For example, I hear all the time business owners saying, and particularly practice owners, can't get the right staff. They just can't do the job properly. Oh, they're so unreliable. And one thing I realized was, if I've got a bad team member, someone who's consistently late, not putting the hours in, or as Parag and Cooks describe as the Homer in the business, what does Homer do? And this was a funny one. When I came to the session, there's a picture of Homer. And I thought, what is this? What I'm paying for to watch Simpsons? But then he said, look, the concept is, what does Homer do? When the boss comes in, very busy pressing all the buttons, when he's not there, he's eating donuts, or she. And the problems that we have, sometimes we blame other people. But I understood, if I've got team members that are not pulling their weight, it's not their fault. It's 100% my fault, because I hired wrong. I didn't use the right recruitment system. I hired based on need at that time, best of the worst. I didn't follow the steps. I used my heart. They seem good. You know, I like them. You know, all the wrong methods to recruit, I used them. And now we don't have these problems. We're stronger as a team. So beliefs is such a big part of this. And you go on to, you know, change a lot of beliefs. And I know Cooks has got some around, you know, his beliefs around money and investing. And some of these beliefs are embedded from childhood, from parents and peers. So belief for me was a big one.
Yeah, I agree. Massive, massive. So Jas, Shaz, there's a couple of comments and questions.
Questions that have come through now, which is excellent. I love interaction and I love questions.
Yeah, so Jas, there's one from you from Nashia.
Natalia. Oh, Nasia, yeah, sorry, my eyesight's going.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to read it out. Always suffer from low self-esteem and have the skills to do composite veneers and smart vehicle. So you've done this, you've got the skill set, and I've done Invisalign, but lack confidence to carry out cases. I could be living my best life doing that as mainstream dentistry, but scared to move forward. Oh, this is a beautiful question, but how am I going to move forward? So the question is, and this is a very, very common question that I get all the time at seminars. So you've done a course, be it Invisalign, be it SmileFast, bonding, be it implants, whatever the course is, and we don't do enough of it. We're scared. We don't have the confidence to do more of these cases. So we know we've got some skill there, but we haven't got the experience. So that's the only way you're going to get that is by doing experience. And I agree that there's lots of people on our shoulders. There's the GDC, the CQC, the LAT, the DLP. They always seem to come in acronyms of 3, and they're all out there. The key thing that if you don't do anything, you're going to miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Simple as that. And it's a gradual learning curve. Like, for example, a great scenario on this is that I'm an Invisalign provider, but I'm doing the aligner diploma. So I'm also increasing my knowledge and increasing my skill set. And with that, what I'm doing is I've got coaches there, so I'm more coaching. Even though I know how to do Invisalign, I want to learn how to do it to the best of my ability and get even better than where I am now. So what you're doing is you get to doing cases, and you're also got some mentors and coaches that are around you, which are there to support you. But it's about mindset and the belief in yourself. If you constantly start saying to yourself, just like Cook said, that I'm going to fail, you are going to fail. Those who say they can and those who say they can't are both right. It's that change in mindset. As soon as that starts happening, I am going to do this. I am an amazing Invisalign provider. You will become an amazing Invisalign provider. I mean, I could talk about this for hours. I know I've got a little bit of time, but this is what I talk about on the courses and coaching, and this is exactly what this is going to teach you. So I hope that helps. If you just comment if there's anything else, Nasia, if that's helped, or is there anything else you want to ask as a follow-on from that?
Just to add to what you've mentioned very, very quickly, I'm not sure about you guys, but I actually started to employ writing down affirmations and I am statements, which initially were like, I was in my mind thinking this is the most hocus pocus, like weird stuff. It felt like I was lying, but I used to write down, I am an incredible entrepreneur. I am highly successful. I am surrounded by successful people. And I felt like I was lying because at that time I was in the depth and in the pits of like the worst case scenario. And when I started to do this, I used to repeat it every single day, like writing down the same statements every single day as affirmations. And slowly but surely over a period of time, I think for me, it took almost a year, but those affirmations and those I am statements started to come true. And my mindset was changing. And I'd find myself saying it to myself when I was in a difficult situation. So hopefully everyone who's listening and watching, that can resonate with you, and it's something that you can try as well. Shaz, anything that you want to add before we move on? Hello?
Yeah, and I think Jas and Cooks have answered quite a lot of it, but I just want to add something to it. Low self-esteem and lack of confidence can hold us back in many parts of life. And if you really feel it's holding you back and where you want to go feels so far away because of that, then for me, you know, when I've been in that situation with things that are out of my comfort zone, I've done my very best, and I saw a TED Talks on this. Try 10 times. I've done my very best, at least 10 times, to at least, for example, find someone who's going to walk me through the process, who's taken those steps before. So this time, there were people who've got their businesses.
I think
we might be. Shaz, just check on the Wi-Fi. We're losing you a little bit.
well, we may have lost him for
There was someone who's got 400 where you can learn from.
I thought we were doing quite well there.
I'm just going to message him.
We need a Wi-Fi coach. I agree, John. Wi-Fi coaches would be the next Amazon.
Absolutely. I think
How's
there's
it
another thing that
Are we good?
Jane has mentioned, and she's asked about recruitment, but we are going to cover that in my section. So that will answer that, Jane. That's your question. I will cover that in that section. Oh, we've got Shaz back.
He's
Can
back.
you hear me now?
Yeah. So I'm just going to move on to the next section. So look, typically as entrepreneurs, as business owners, and this is what we found in coaching. We coach on this throughout the program. There's three main areas of pain. So time pain. I was definitely feeling a lot of time pain. I was working all the time, no time for friends, for family, most importantly, no time for myself, because you often overlook yourself. Team pain, finding the right people, difficult staff, finding, recruitment is always a big issue. Pain, finding the people around you is a common theme that we come across. And then finally, money pain. So cash flow issues, payment issues. Obviously in dentistry, it's a little bit different, but they can occur if you're not taking care of managing your cash flow and your resources. And again, the reason I'm highlighting all of this is just to let you know that this is common. Time pain is common within entrepreneurs and business owners. Team pain is common. Money pain is common as well. And the reason that's good news is because that there's solutions that exist, tried and tested solutions that exist to alleviate the pain that you might be feeling in one or all of these sections. And just by the way, I felt pain in all of these sections before moving on and now kind of owning 3 businesses and being a coach. So I wanted to ask a kind of a thought-provoking question to everyone. And again, I'd really appreciate your participation here. I want to ask a question. What is a business to you? I just want to understand where everyone's mindset is. And I'm going to check the chat box. What is a business to you? I'll just give it a couple of minutes.
Don't all answer at once, guys.
Yeah, I know. Did the chap run the mile fast have too much chili sauce and strategic placement of the loo? Who knows, mate? That might have happened. All right, well, I mean, I'll answer the question for you if you're feeling a bit shy. Our definition of what a business is for it to be a commercial and profitable enterprise which works without you. So just imagine that. If you're at the moment a practice owner who's working all of the time, our definition of what a business is for you to have a commercial and profitable enterprise that starts to work without you when you step away. What is a business coach? A business coach is ultimately the unreasonable friend who holds you accountable. Oftentimes when you're at the top of the food chain, there's no one to hold you accountable and ask you those difficult questions, and to also help you when you're in a difficult situation. And ultimately that's what a business coach is. I wanted that, I needed it, and Jas and Shaz were in a similar situation when they were looking for solutions to the problems that they were facing at that time. And finally, is coaching or mentorship, is it right for you? Well, there's 2 ways to look at it. If you've got a fixed mindset and you're someone who says, I know, yeah, but, then probably it's not for you, because you've got your own answers and any new ideas will probably not sit well with you. However, if you're someone who's got a growth mindset, an open mindset, and you say things like, go on, I'm listening, that sounds interesting, and so on, then potentially coaching could be right for you, because it means that you're open to new ideas and new suggestions and changing what might not be working in your life. So before moving on to recruitment, I just want to cover our 6-step system, the coaching program that Shaz and myself have been on and are still on, because this is an ongoing process. The first step of the 6 steps is mastery. And essentially that means getting the basics right, eliminating chaos in your business, eliminating time chaos, destination chaos, money chaos, all of these things. Then we go on to niche, which is creating predictable cash flow, allowing you to have a nice flow of money coming in so you can start to build your business and plan for you to step away from it. Then we want efficiency in the business. So mission statements, culture statements, SMART goals, organizational structures that are written down. This is not stuff that's in your head or someone else might know. This all has to be written down and for your team to share, and a part of the vision that everyone who's employed in your team knows about. Then we want to structure for growth. So whether you want 50 practices or you're happy with the 1 practice, but for it to fund your lifestyle as you sail the seas, we want to structure for growth in the business. Then we want a well-oiled machine. I think my screen might be blocking the final one, which is results. We create results, personal growth for you, buying and selling new businesses, investment. Ultimately, we create massive results. Oh, sorry. We create massive results and alleviate those pain issues we discussed earlier of time, team, and money. So now on to recruitment. You might have heard this, or you might have even said this yourself. I can't find the right staff. And is it really the staff members? The truth is, it's you. And I'll pass it on to Jas to expand on this further. Bear with me, Jas. I'm just going to make you the host.
I am the host now.
Great.
And I am going to share my screen. Share. And I'm just going to play this full screen. There we go. Can we see that?
Yeah.
Excellent. So I'm going to move forward to where you ended up. Okay, I'm conscious of time, and we're going to have a section at the end to answer all your questions. I know there's some fantastic comments coming in and some really great questions, so we are going to answer those. But I'm just going to run through recruitment. Now, every single time I ask the question on a seminar when I'm teaching this, hands up, who's got a team member in their team that they wish they hadn't hired or they wish they could get rid of? Everyone puts their hand up. There's not a single person, and I've asked that question of about a year I've been teaching this, not a single person has not put their hand up. So this is vital that this, when I did this on Parik's course, I was like blown away. And I can't tell you how useful this is, because when it comes to recruitment, it's one of those points that we can't measure. We don't know how much money we're losing. It's got no accountability. So when someone like Shaz said earlier, we've got a Homer Simpson, we don't know how inefficient that person is. It's hard to measure. So I want to run through the four classic recruitment oops that we make. So I'm going to talk about those now. The first one being timing. I'm going to cover that. Now, timing, I always ask the question, when is the best time to find your next recruit? And the answer I always get is when that staff member has handed in their letter of notice, or they said, look, they're giving in their notice. And we usually have 2 or 3 months to find the replacement. And in that 2 or 3 months, we're rushing. We're not in the ideal situation. It's not that we have as much time as we want. We've only got a limited time, so we're rushing, therefore we're not going to do the job properly. So what I always say is always have a pool of people, always be recruiting. If you look on my website, we've got places for receptionists, for nurses, down to cleaners. We've always got people. So say a nurse does hand in her notice, we've got 10, 15 nurses that we can choose from. We've already got people over there, so we don't need to be advertising. We've got a selection of people. Now, you may be wondering when these people apply, and you're going to say to them, you don't need a nurse at the moment. And that's fine. That's okay, because you're going to say to them, look, we haven't got anyone at the moment, but we'll keep your inquiry on file. So you've got a pool of people there, and have that recruitment tab on your website. Shaz has created a great website for me, and we made sure that we had that tab in there, and I'll show you a video of it in a second. The next thing about after timing is, for me, I think the most important thing is the quality. And how do you ensure that you find the best person, not just any person? Don't hire the cheapest. That's what we always do. You always get what you pay for, because if you hire the cheapest, you're not going to be getting the best person. You're not going to be getting the best person in terms of skill set, in terms of attitude, unless you have world-class training, like a company like McDonald's, where they've got their systems in place, their training is, and you can't match their training. They do hire school leavers because they've got fantastic training, fantastic systems in place. A school leaver can go in there and with no skill set, with poor attitude, and they can make them and they can work their way up. I know my surgery isn't as good as McDonald's in terms of systems. We're getting there. It's a process, but it's not there yet. So make sure that you don't hire the cheapest, and you'll be able to not hire the cheapest when you've got a pool of people to select from, when you're not in a rush. After quality, I would say, how much cash do you need? I would always say, have at least 3 months salary in the bank to hire them. And this is usually the probation period, where you can quite easily say, right, this person's not the right person. We made a mistake, back to the drawing board. And that's not a problem to say that. It's better you do that now in the probation period, rather than hiring them permanently. And then it's more harder to get to remove them. Then it makes it much more difficult. Then there's whole processes and procedures that you need to follow. In the probation period, it's so much more easier. And get rid of them if you're not sure. If you think, I don't know, I'm not feeling 100% about this, get rid of them. That means it's in the probation period. That's why you have the probation period. And like I said, you should have a pool of people to replace them as well, because you've done that, because you've got your timing correct. And last but not least, and I think this is the most important one, out of skills v attitude, which one wins? It's always attitude. Skills can be taught. You can train your teams. They can improve their skills. Attitude is very difficult to change. That's a much deeper quality. It's harder to change someone's attitude. Poor skills can be improved, can be increased. And it's attitude that you want to look at in the interview process. And I'm going to run through what the classic interview process is. So I'm going to show you my website, and which I said I'll do, and the recruitment side, the recruitment tab. And I'm going to talk you through it and explain to you how it works. So this is our the Indeed page, and this is where we measure everyone, and this is how people can find out information about our practice. So you can see this, and this is all free. Anyone can do this. Everyone can set this up. It doesn't cost anything. This is on Indeed. So prospective employees who want to work for you, they can see reviews of what it's like to work in your practice. They can see reviews of past employees that have left your practice, and they will come. And if it's not good, then you need to change that. You need to change your systems. Why is it not good? Why are your team not happy? You're not going to attract good people then. Listen to this if it's not 5-star, if it's 4 or 3 or 2, whatever the score is, make those changes, and that way you'll start attracting good people. And then you will be getting 5-star reviews from your employees, and you'll start attracting people into your business rather than hunting people. People will start coming to you, just like how Shaz said earlier on. So just moving on from that, I want to talk about what characteristics should you look for. And for me, the most important thing that I look for is when I'm speaking to, and if I'm doing an interview or I'm telling my practice manager to do the interview, is do they know and share the core values of our practice, of our business? You may be thinking, what are my core values? Do you know your core values? Have your core values, have your vision, have your team culture. That should be written down. Everyone on the team should know that. And then the new person who's coming in, they should share your core values. Next, Are they independent? Do they need tight management? After 3 months, after that probation period, you should not need to handhold them. They should be able to work independently of you. You do not, their line manager shouldn't need to tell them what to do. They should just be monitoring them in terms of measuring their KPIs. They should not need to handhold them, and they should be able to work independently. And my favorite one, do they have the potential at some point to be the best in their job? Have they got that right attitude? Are they going to develop that skill set to be that best person in their job? Do they understand the difference between a job and a responsibility? And this takes it back to the Homer Simpson example. And do you want a Homer Simpson who works when you walk into the building, and he looks at you and then he starts working? For that person, it's just a job. Or do you want someone who considers it a responsibility? My nurse, quite often, if I'm sometimes overrunning after lunch, I'm finishing at 12, and sometimes I overrun at 12:15. She has got no problem. Always polite and say, do you mind staying a little bit longer? We're going over. Absolute sure, no problem. Sometimes I'll finish early, sometimes I finish late, but I never have that problem from my team. And that's how you want to be working, so that you're in an environment where everyone's happy. There's no stresses. And if you're in that environment, I want you to enjoy going to work, not think, oh God, I got to get up early and go to work today. It should be, I can't wait to go to work. It's so much fun out there. I really want to enjoy I love what I do. That's how you should be, because that way your stresses will go down. And stress is a big thing, and I know it's not talked about enough. I'm not going to touch on it. I'm not going to talk about it today. But that way your stresses will reduce, because you're working in a happy environment. And probably the most important one, ask yourself this question. Every single team member that you have, would you rehire that person if you could for the same job? If the answer to that question is no, why is that person there? Either if their skill set is poor, train them, improve that skill set, get them to where you want them to be, get them a plan, get them a development portfolio in terms of how their training should be, where you want them to be at a particular time, have those goals, have those appraisal meetings annually. This is what I'm going to be doing for you. What are you going to be doing for me in return? So who should you be looking for? How are you going to be hiring? How are you going to be doing this? How are you hiring? I'm just going to scroll through my recruitment process now. First of all, you need to write a great advert. I love this ad. It's a great advert. I absolutely love it. It's brilliant. The ad should be broken down into 4 components called AIDA, A-I-D-A. And the first A stands for attention. So wherever you're advertising, be it online, Indeed, social media, wherever you're advertising, it needs to be attention grabbing. The people need to see your advert. It needs to grab their attention. The second letter is I, which is of interest. Why should that person be interested in working for you? What's there for them? Because is there something different about your practice? Why should they work for you as opposed to the practice down the road? What is there that's special about you? The desire. What are you giving them? So they're interested is one, but what are you going to be offering them? What is the package? What are you going to be dealing with for them? What are they going to get out of working for you? And the last point in the IDA is the A, the action. What's the call to action? How are they going to contact you? Do they need to email you? Do they need to click on a link? Make that quite clear and as detailed as possible. Now, what we do over here is we screen leads. I hate the idea when we write an advert, my practice manager has to go through a pile of CVs and going through each one. So I'm going to tell you a really good tip on how not to do that, so you won't have to do that. 95% of applicants, they won't write a specific CV for that job. They just have their standard CV and they'll send you that one because they can't be bothered. That's a simple reason. So what you want to do is on your practice mobile, ask them to leave a voicemail and in turn and answering the question why you should hire them for that particular role. And all they need to do is leave a 30-second message. And the most important bit, ask them to leave a reference at the end. The reference can be anything. What we normally do, it's June now and the day it's June 21. We always say leave the reference June 2021. 90% of candidates will forget to leave that reference. That shows you they don't have attention to detail. They don't listen. Their attitude's poor. I don't want someone like that. You're left with 10% of the people. It's a great little trick in terms of you don't have to go through that pile of CVs. It brings it down to 10%. So now I'm going to run through what to do after that. So phone screen your leads. That's the first thing I said. Set up a dedicated voicemail for phone screening. And once you've done that, complete the voicemail script and record it so that they can leave a message and place your ad. Ads direct leads to a number where they can leave the voicemail message. Listen to the responses. And then you'll have a few. You won't have many now because remember, you've only got 10%. And what you want to do is phone the interesting candidates for a 5 to 10 minute interview each. And what you're really looking for here is if it's a receptionist, are they good communicators? These are the kind of things that you're looking for. You're asking them questions in terms to judge their attitude, why they want that job. Those are the sort of questions that you're asking. Why they want this job, why are you leaving the current job, what do you want to achieve over the next few years? That's the sort of things that you want to be asking on the phone. Have the interesting ones send their CV. So now, can you see how you've reduced the number of CVs that you're actually receiving? So you've got even less CVs coming in now, which makes life a lot easier and more time saving for either yourself or your practice manager. Once of that, rate candidates by comparing the phone interview and the CV to the job description. So you want to make sure that you've got the right person for the job that you want. And this is a whole time-saving job because you've got less candidates to screen through. So what you end up with is a short list on terms of candidates. Now, this short list, you want to call for a group interview, so a face-to-face interview. For the past, I'd say probably longer than during obviously COVID, we couldn't do this, but now we have started doing this and we are getting them back in now. So we are getting them in for a group interview again now. Now, this is the first point where I'll actually get involved when in terms of the aspects of recruitment. Up to this point, my practice manager was doing everything. Now, what I do is when they're coming in for a group interview, and it's usually about 3 people here, not more than 3 we have. And what I'm doing, I'm introducing the vision, the culture, the values, the goals, the history, and the marketing opportunities of the business. So I usually give a little 5 to 10 minute speech on the vision, all of these points to the team members, and they're usually listening. I do like it if some of them make notes. I usually prefer that. Some of them can, some of them don't. The team introduce themselves and their experiences, because the team are the people that they're going to work with, and the team need to report back to you and say, you know what, I had a good feel of this person, I didn't have a good feel of this person. So you need to make sure that the team are feeling good about them as well, because they're the ones that are going to be working with them. Then I explain the job description and the KPIs for the job. For example, for a nurse, I'll say things like we do a spot check once a week randomly, and it's a score out of 10. One of the markers could be we'll check your instruments. If there's any cement on the flat plastic, you'll fail that. Now, some staff members, some interviewees, I see from their face, just from their facial expression, whoa, that's quite strict. While other interviewees, I can see from their facial expression, that's standard, that's normal, there's nothing wrong with that. So you get a really good idea of the attitude of each interviewee. Now, next part is, again, my favorite part. We have a break and an invitation to leave. And I normally find at this point, 1 or 2 people will leave, because once I've explained the job description and the KPIs and the vision, the culture, this is way too much for them. And this is the time I want to find out. Not once I've hired them permanently, I want to find out now. And we're usually left at this point with 1 to 2 people, because the other people thought it was too much for them. Their attitude wasn't right. They haven't got the right skill set. I want the people with the right attitude. That's who I want working for me in my team. So once that's done, then the interviewees introduce themselves to each other, and they have a conversation amongst themselves between each other. And then we do a disc form on each one to make sure that they're gonna get on with the rest of the team. And I know Cooks and me were talking about this earlier on. From there, myself and the practice manager would have a meeting in terms of who is the right person for that particular job. And at that point, we would get commitment, and from that one person, we would offer them the role and get the contract signed, the job contract. I also, in terms of references, I'm just going to touch on that. We do get written references, but I also recommend getting verbal references. The verbal references, the person on the phone can actually speak the truth. They can actually say whatever they want. On a written reference, they're not allowed to write anything bad, but on a verbal reference, you'll be surprised how much truth actually does come out. It really changes from the verbal reference. So I hope you found that useful and helpful. I know I sort of rushed through it, but what I'm talking about here is this was just one session on the business coaching course, and you can see how I've developed it and implemented it for my business. And every session is going to be like that. The recruitment section was one of my favorites, and I can clearly see how it's benefited my business, because I've got a super team now. I've got an amazing team, and people want to join my team. So just from that one session, and that session was 2.5 hours, and I've gone through it here really quickly. But you can see how much value you get from this, and that's the real value that you'll get from business coaching. So I hope that's helped. I'm going to stop my share now. I hope I didn't go on too long, guys. And am I making Cooks you the host, or is it Shaz?
Yeah, I'm getting onto the juicy bit now, which a lot of people enjoy this section.
Are you the host, yeah?
Yes, I am.
You're the host. Good, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, so, okay, everyone. So let me just move this along. Oh. So this is the most powerful strategy you can use to increase your profits and your cash flow right now in your business. You're definitely going to want to take notes on this, write it down, and pay attention to this. And this is, out of all of it, if you're going to take anything away and participating in anything, this is the section to do it in. So what we're talking about here is called our 5-way system. 5 ways to increase your business profits. So what we need to consider are the number of leads that we have in our business, the conversion rate in our business, which gives us the outcomes, number of transactions, and again, we get an outcome from this. Finally, our profit margin, which gives us our profits. So one thing to pay attention to is the elements in white are elements that you can control. Okay, so you can control the number of leads, you can control the conversion rate, and that gives you the number of customers. The number of customers is a result, it's an outcome. But the other 5 factors is what you can control, and I'll expand on this in a minute. So the 5 ways with real numbers. In this particular business example, we've got a business that's generating 4,000 leads a year. So 4,000 people have shown interest in this nice little business that we've got. As a conversion rate, of those 4,000 people, 25% become customers. So that gives us 1,000. 25% times 4,000 gives us 1,000. We then look at the number of transactions those 1,000 customers complete with this business every year. So each customer, we're saying each of those 1,000 customers is going to transact with our business 2 times a year. And every time they're going to spend £100 with us. So that gives us a nice turnover of £200,000. So I'll just run through that again to make sure everyone's on the same page. We've got 1,000 customers who are transacting with us twice in a year. So essentially 2,000. And they're spending £100 each time, which gives us a turnover of £200,000. And we make a profit margin of 25%, which means this particular business is making a £50,000 profit. Now, it's very important that you take note of all of this. And remember what I said earlier about the elements in white being controllable elements of your business and the elements in yellow being outcomes. So what would a 10% increase in all of these elements that you can control give you? So if you're good at maths or you're rapid on your calculator, I'm inviting you to participate in this and put your answers in the chat box, and I will be checking momentarily. So as you can see, if we increase the number of leads with some marketing activities from 4,000 to 4,400, so 4,000 times 10% is 400. You add them together gives you 4,400. We increase the conversion rate by 10% as well, so 27.5%. Who thinks the answer in terms of the number of customers is 1,100? Let's have a look. We've got some rapid fire in the chat box. Can you say again how the conversion rate is 25%? Nasir. Yeah, so Nasir, it's just an example. So we're saying that in this particular example, I'll clear that out. It's 4,000 leads in our business, and we're saying 25% of them become our customers. So let's say there's 10 people that walk into your practice. 2.5 of them will end up doing some kind of business with you. That's how we get that 25%. So it's just an example in this instance. But now we're looking to increase everything by 10%. The answer is it doesn't go from 1,000 to 1,100. It actually goes to 1,210, because we're employing the power of compounding. And this is really, really powerful, as you see, as we work through this. So again, we're increasing the number of transactions now. Rather than the customer buying from us 2 times a year, they're now buying from us 2.2 times a year. So it's a small, tiny increase. And rather than spending £100 each time, they're now going to be spending £110 each time. And again, here, normally people think that the outcome is going to be that your turnover increases from 200,000 to 220,000. But actually something quite powerful happens. Your turnover jumps massively with the power of compounding from 200,000 to 292,000. So it's huge. And once again, we're looking at our profit margin because it's within our control, and we're going to increase the profit margins by 10%. So when we do this, again, the compound effect takes place and it's powerful. Our profits jump from £50,000 to £80,000. So as you can see here, the turnover increased by 46%, and the profits have jumped a massive 61% in your business simply by increasing 5 controllable metrics by 10%. Now, when I first saw this, it blew my mind because first and foremost, I didn't know how many leads I was getting a year. I didn't know about conversion rates. I didn't know about any of this data that I should have been tracking. But when I became aware of it, especially after seeing this, it hit home really, really hard. Before I move on to the next slide, Shaz, I just wanted to get your insights on this particular system and how it impacted you and how you think it works in dentistry as well.
Yeah, good question. So look, as a marketeer, our job is to increase awareness for a business. But the problem some businesses have, particularly dental practices, is that they're not really measuring properly. They look at their turnover, profit. They can kind of give it a shot on, yeah, we've been quite profitable. And that's how a lot of businesses run. And if you're a little bit more organized, you might have someone who's giving you a little bit more detailed figures. But there really isn't a dashboard, which is in most businesses looking at the leads and the number of customers. Because if you've got a dashboard like this, you can actually spend time on how do I increase my leads? Then how can I get my conversion rate up? So we've done this. We've used a system called Active Campaign. When someone fills in a website form, it goes into something and it creates what is called a deal. Then we can see how many people were converted, how many did not. And the ones that did not, we want to know why. So the forward-thinking practices I work with, they actually go on, even after they've lost the lead. So if they've had an Invisalign inquiry, they actually go out their way later on to still contact them and ask, look, it's fine, you've gone elsewhere, we appreciate that, but we are dedicated to building the best dental practice we can be. Please, can you tell us what made you go elsewhere? So you learn from that feedback. For us, this was transformational because it was quite disorganized before. You're just looking at figures your accountant is giving you. And people in coaching will tell you that your accountant is probably not the best person to go to get business growth advice. So yeah.
Yeah, I've become a data geek now. Like, I speak to my team. I'm like, what's our P&L like? How many leads? Yeah, what's our conversion rate like? And all of that stuff is so powerful because you just see how it works and stacks in your favor for your business. How about you, Jas?
Same with me. When I saw this, I was blown away. Took it back to my dental surgery. I mean, if you're not measuring, you don't know if you're winning or losing. Just going through the day. So when it came to that, we looked at the number of leads, and I think it was someone asked, how do you measure the number of leads? We just take one strategy like Google, the Google marketing you do, and it tells you how many leads you're getting. And from the sales in a particular time period, like in a month, you know how many leads you've got in that month. You know how many people have gone ahead with it with a particular treatment. Say, for example, it's Invisalign. You've done 10 cases in that month. So you've got, say you've got 100 leads. You've got 10 cases in that month. You know that your conversion rate is 10%. So the conversion rate measures leads is marketing. Conversion rate is how good you are at sales. And that gives you a number of customers in that month. Your number of transactions, you know how many you're doing, that's what that gives you. And then your cost per sale, for example, if you're charging 4,000 for an Invisalign full, just multiply those two together. If you're doing 10 cases times 4,000, you know your turnover is 40,000. So I'm just putting figures into it for Invisalign, which is exactly how I started doing. Now I do this at the beginning of the year, of the beginning of the Invisalign year. So if I wanted to become diamond or platinum or whatever level you want to get to, you know what your goal is. You know it from day one, how many cases you need to be doing, how much profit it's going to make you. And so you know you're so much more accountable. So your cash flow forecast, you can put those figures in there. And these things that I'm talking about is what's making your business much more efficient. So you know which direction you're going in. And it's amazing how excited you can get the whole team when they're all on board of this as well. It's phenomenal. It really just blows things out of proportion.
So I want to just ask the audience to answer this question that you see on screen. Out of the 5 metrics which we've now put on your radar, which one should you tackle first? If you could just put your answers in the chat box, I'd be really interested to know what you think we should be attacking first to implement this in your business. I'll just wait a couple of minutes. Hopefully everyone participates in this part, because it's always interesting to see where people are at in their thinking.
Just remember, guys, number of leads is your marketing, 2 is your sales, margin is your systems in your practice. So try and think, what should you tackle first? Number of transactions, should you offering extra? Do you want to offer whitening with Invisalign? So the number of transactions that you're doing, your cost per sale, do you want to put your prices up? So which things should you be tackling first in your dental practice to increase your profits?
So we're saying profits, a couple of people saying conversion rates, profits then go backwards, margin, number of leads. Let's have a look. Interesting. This is something I started this month to track Invisalign cases. Why the leads are falling in the past 9 months. Interesting. We can go on to that later on.
Almost all 5.
Yeah, exactly. Not a dentist, but running a service supply dental company. Slightly different approach, still applicable, I would say.
That's interesting. By the way, this is a business coaching program. It works for any business. If you've got a property business, it'll work for that.
Yeah.
If you've got personal goals, it'll work for that. If you've got a dental practice, a dental technician, it'll work for that. If you're an associate, the recruitment, someone was saying earlier, it doesn't mention dental associates. You can do exactly the same for dental associates. It works. The problem is we put these blocks and obstacles in our mind. We need to overcome those obstacles.
Yeah, and bear in mind that, you know, just from my viewpoint as a non-dentist, I've got 3 businesses. I've got my family business, which is the chili crisps, my digital marketing agency, and then I've got the large format printing business, and everything that we learn here applies to all of them because the fundamentals of business are the same. So to put it in order, and again, please write this down. If you're taking note of any of this, please do write this down, because it's important that you take this away with you as a huge piece of value, because it's going to increase your business profits and the way that your business works overnight. The first thing that we want to look at is 100% our profit margins. If you can take your profit margins and increase it by 10%, 5%, whatever the number is, it's going to add more money to your bottom line overnight. So the first thing that you want to tackle is profit margin. The second you want to work on is your conversion rate. So if you can get your conversion rate from whatever it is today and increase that by 1%, 2%, 10% every month or every quarter, it's going to start impacting the success of your business immediately. Third and fourth, you want to look at your average sale value, then your number of transactions, getting people to come back and purchase from you again. And finally, your number of leads. And the reason the number of leads is last is actually because it's the most expensive. 1 through to 4 you can do for free. You know, simple things like Shaz mentioned, active campaign, you know, text message campaigns, calling people back and saying, look, why didn't you purchase from us? Simply keeping track of the database and the inquiries coming into you and remarketing to people, it costs you nothing. But generating new leads does cost you money. And so that's why it's the last point that you work on within the 5-way system. So finally, drawing to a close on the webinar, if it is of interest to you, if you found this webinar useful and of value, I'm happy to offer you know, half an hour to 40-minute gifted coaching sessions, no charge at all, to anyone who's attended today. I'll share the link when we end the presentation if it is of interest. If you wouldn't mind just putting a yes or a no in the chat box. That will let me know if there is some interest, and then I can share the link and we can take it on from there. But I just wanted to offer that to everyone for attending today and spending your time with us. Yeah, so that's the end of the presentation. I'm just going to stop sharing. And yeah, well, now we can do go through some.
I just add, look, we've spoken about coaching a lot, and there's lots of people that have, you know, entered the world of coaching, but not actually pursued coaching. And this webinar isn't to say go and coach. This webinar is to say open your eyes up to a bigger vision. There is a solution to whatever business problem. And really, what I would say is start by reading a book called The E-Myth. Okay. You don't need to start coaching. I mean, you need to get education, so by whichever means. If you get coaching, you can pass. The E-Myth is an amazing book by Michael Gerber, and ultimately he's saying, build your business like a franchise. Whether you franchise it or not in the future, that's irrelevant. But if you were to franchise it, what would you do? You would systemize every single part of that business, a bit like McDonald's has done. So in doing that, it allows you to work on the business rather than in the business, because without systems, you have no consistency. And the best restaurants around the world, you go back 1 month later, a year later, you go to any chain restaurant, the food experience is the same because they've got an amazing system workflow. So start by reading the E-Myths. I'm just going to put that in the chat. But of course, if you want, take Cooks up on that free session, no obligation. I mean, that's what I did when I started with Parag.
Yeah, same. I did the same thing.
It was exactly the same with me. I would definitely encourage everyone. This could really change your life. I know when I started over 2 years ago, it completely changed my life. Otherwise, I'd still probably be working 72 hours and I wouldn't be doing this. Now I'm doing 12 clinical hours a week as opposed to 72. So it's made a massive difference. And the profits have gone up. I thought they would go down, but they've gone up. So it really does make a massive difference if you implement the changes. And what you see, the more changes you implement, the more difference it makes. So you don't have to do it all overnight. It's not that you have to do all the 20, 30 things overnight, but the more you start doing, the more changes you see. Me and myself and Shaz were still on the program. We're still going through it all. We're still not there yet. We still haven't hit all of our goals, but we're constantly improving and constantly making that effort and spending time on the business as opposed to in the business. That's, for me, was a real game changer.
Yeah, same with me.
Sorry to interrupt. Jas, have you found that, because I found this in my group, that a lot of the people in the group are financially very successful. It's time that they're looking for rather than financial success. Did you experience that with your group as well?
My group, it was a mixture. So just to clarify, me and Shaz were on different groups, and you have about 10 people in a group that you have sessions with. So my group was a mixture, and they were financially well off and time poor, but there were some people that were just they were struggling just to make ends meet, and they were time poor as well, and they were just keeping afloat. So it's for everyone. It's for everyone out there. So I know that there's some dentists out there that are working every hour under the sun, and they're like still struggling. They don't get it. How come they see pictures on social media? How come I can't do that? And for those people, it'll work. For those dentists that are financially doing really well, but they're time poor, it'll work for them as well, because your biggest asset is your time. That's limited, and it's constantly reducing. So it's your biggest asset isn't your property or your cars or anything like that. It's your time, because that's reducing. Where this will free up your time, and how you choose to spend that time is up to you. That's what I loved about it.
So I just wanted to ask everyone, we're at 8:30 now, so we were due to kind of end the webinar a couple of minutes ago. I'm happy to extend it for another 5 or 10 minutes if there's any questions. Shaz, Jas, are you guys okay to do that?
Absolutely.
It's all about everyone.
Yeah. If there are questions, or if anyone wants to ask anything in specific, I know there were a few earlier that we might have missed. So yeah, please feel free to share in the chat box if there are any more questions. I'll just give it a couple of minutes.
Yeah, if there's any questions we didn't answer, just copy and paste it back into the bottom again, and then if anything we might have missed, or there's any new question, anything that you want to ask, we'll try and answer it for you now. Where did you find mentors like-minded entrepreneurs? It's still the same today for us. So Jatin's asking, where did we find them? And for me, it was Shaz introduced me to Parag at the evening event that I went with him. And then over there, I found like-minded people. I've told lots of other dentists to come on this course, and lots of other dentists are doing the business coaching as well. And now they've got a group just for dentists, which is great. I've got quite a few dentists coming on there, and they're benefiting from it as well. So, and they're also teaching, and they're realizing that they're more time free now. So it was really, but Shaz introduced them to me, really.
And I would say sometimes you can find mentors and they won't even know they're your mentor. So these mentors could be people on social media that are kind of giving away their tips on how they've been successful. So you might have lots of mentors, and sometimes they're not even, it's not even a mentor format where someone's sitting down with you. You know, Jas is a mentor for so many. So just surround your network. Like one thing I did, I went on my social media and I deleted anyone that isn't adding a positive value to what I'm seeing on a daily basis. So design your feeds to empower you and have inspirational people in there. They're mentoring you and they don't even know it.
Sorry, Simon's asking about my dog. He's okay at the moment.
I just wanted to add to that question. So for me, it was actually changing my mindset, going back to the identity iceberg. I realized the people I was surrounded with were not of the correct mindset. And at that time, it was my family as well. I'll be open enough to say, my family, I love my family, they're great people, but the mindset of my family was not right because we were working together. And so I had to make a change in myself to say that actually I'm now this type of person and I'm now actively seeking these types of people. So I started reading new books, started watching new YouTube videos. And a funny thing happens, like when you're in a social settings or you bump into someone that you maybe have known for a long time or a new person, and you say to them, oh, I read this book, or oh, I watched this interesting YouTube video, the right type of person, they'll all of a sudden go, oh, that's really interesting, or I've read that too, that's really interesting. And then all of a sudden your circle starts changing, and then your environment starts changing, and the people that you're exposed to starts changing. And so you then through that find mentors and so on. And that was a big thing for me. And so, yeah, I hope that helped, Jerin. Noah's asking, does it not have to be business specific? For example, you'd want to find someone who owns a practice to teach you how to run a practice. Do you mind rephrasing that question or statement, Noah? I'm not quite understanding that.
I think Noah's saying that it has to be a principle of a practice. Only a principal can teach you how to run a practice because he runs a practice.
Oh, I see.
But it's not like that at all, because we've got, in my group, there were architects, there were IT guys, there was me, the dentist. There was no other dentist in my group at all. And Parag was amazing, and the results you can see, so it's not business specific at all. The concepts of business are all the same, irrespective of which business you run. What I spoke there about recruitment, that will work for any business, not just a dental practice. Systems, what Cook spoke about, that will work for any business. Those 5 ways, that chart, the 5 ways in terms of increasing your systems first, that will work for any business. So it doesn't have to be a practice principle to teach you how to run a practice.
So David's stating, I'm struggling to recruit associates. I can't get people to apply. I have a standout ad and can't get people to apply. I have a USB too.
I think I'm answering all the questions. Shaz, you want to respond to that one?
Okay, so the question is, you're struggling to recruit and you have a really good standout ad. So this is actually a very common question. You need to widen the net. You're not advertising in enough places. You need to get weird and wonderful and wacky. And it's also about how often, when you're advertising, right? So I'm guessing you've spotted a need for an associate and you've gone and put an advert out. The secret to recruitment is having the advert out all year round. So when you do get around to recruiting, you've got a pool to look at, and not all of them will be employed. So I would say if this is your situation right now, widen the net. If you're using one job site, use 6. If you're using 6, put an advert on a bus, you know, something. You just need to get creative.
I'd also say define, in the same way, you know, we coach on defining who your dream client is. Define who your dream candidate is, write it down, imagine it, you know, their attitude, everything, and then start thinking about where that person might hang out.
Also, make sure you're looking in the right pool, like Cook said. Make sure there's great Facebook groups on Facebook where they're just for recruitment for associates, so that you can use some of those and advertise on there. And ask yourself one question: would you work in your practice? If the answer's no, then why not? And if the answer's yes, then all those things, fine, that will work, you'll find someone. But if the answer's no, why not? What are you offering? Is it a good package that you're offering? Why is no one applying? If you can answer that question, and you said that no one's applying, I think there's something wrong. Why aren't they applying? If people are looking at the ad, you've got to say you're saying a standout practice, but I think there's something more there why they're not applying. But you need to try and find what that is. I hope that helps some, David.
Yeah, by the way, Jas, you just reminded me of something. So I asked, so the founder of Action Coach, I asked him, and he's a billionaire. He's got lots of businesses. How do we recruit in the modern age? And he says, what I do for my businesses, I mean, he owns restaurants, all sorts. He's gone one step further. He's made a landing page with a video of him speaking to his dream candidate and inviting them. So changing the job description into an actual video, showing the business. So you can get so creative with this.
That is powerful. Videos are so powerful. I mean, a lot of marketing, Shaz given me these ideas, but I just post videos of myself up and saying, this is what we offer, this is what we do. I try and, these are more for patients though, not for ads, and just for pain areas and giving information videos out. They're really useful for patients because patients are looking for these things. And he likes my smiling in photographs, and that's a massive thing for Invisalign. Do you find that you have low self-esteem or low confidence? These are the titles of these videos, and you can talk about them, and this is what people are searching for. And yes, Invisalign is a massive term, but take a step back. Why do they want Invisalign? We talk about the journey, but that's the destination. Why do they want it? What's the reason they want their teeth straightened? I know we're sort of digressing slightly.
No, brilliant as always, Jas. And I love this comment from Jane. Thank you. I recognize so many factors in the webinar, but struggling to put them into practice. And this is normal. You're going to hear things that you've heard before. I think you're correct. Coaching is the way forward. The States are ahead of us in this way. I only wish we had been taught more about business when we trained at university. I'm not as young as you guys, but not ready to give up, as I have a huge amount of experience I would like to pass on. Amazing, Jade. That's the attitude you need. And I agree. You weren't taught this at university. No one was taught it. So this is kind of the university that we're having to self-enroll in. And there's no age limit. There is no age limit. We see people of all ages in the group, from like 20-year-olds all the way to 60-plus-year-olds. So that's the right attitude, Jane. Amazing message.
We've got a question from Angela. Angela is my favorite orthodontist in the whole wide world. She's amazing. She's always on every single webinar. She's always teaching. She sometimes does 2 webinars at the same time. I don't know how she manages it. She went to Portugal and was doing a webinar from there. She's unbelievable. And she's one person that I recommended the business coach to, London Business Coaching, and she's on it now. And I hope, and she can see that she loved the E-Myth. And she's asking, guys, a great question. Can you all recommend your favorite business book, please?
So I've put in the chat box, it's not quite a business book, but one that was quite game-changing for me was The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Again, it's almost like common sense, but unless you're exposed to that common sense, it's uncommon. So I listened to it 3 times in a row to make sure that it just all sunk in, and it changed everything for me.
I'm going to say it's not because you're here, Shaz, but it's Shaz's book. It's really a massive game changer on Instagram. I went on his course as well. Instagram has just blown things up for me in terms of inquiries. It's a whole new world. It's fantastic, and that's all thanks to Shaz. But his book is phenomenal. So if you haven't read it, definitely get out there and get it.
I appreciate that. I agree.
Okay, guys. Well, I just wanted to Shaz, Jas, thank you guys so much for taking the time out to share your knowledge and value with everyone today. Everyone who attended today and spent time with us, congratulations on making the time for yourself to do this. It's where it all starts. And thank you as well for spending the evening with us. If there is anything else, you should have all received an email from me with my contact details. You obviously know Shaz and Jas, and contact us on Instagram or email as well if there's anything else. We're here to add value and help you guys as much as possible. But thank you.
I better let my dog out now.
Cheers, everyone.
Thank you very much, guys.
Have a good evening.
Great. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.